TN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Bozeman city leaders passed a controversial ordinance last night, but not without some changes. We're going to outline just what this ordinance entails and when it goes into effect.
A Butte police officer is on unpaid leave pending a criminal investigation. I'll give you the details.
I know mentally, physically it's gonna be hard.
Heartbreak for one Wyoming family after a fatal Beartooth Pass motorcycle accident. And the second Republican presidential primary debate is happening in just under a week. And we're going to break down how some lower polling candidates are feeling and if they think they'll qualify for the debate stage. Alrighty, it is 6:30 on this Wednesday edition of Montana This Morning. Jane McDonald and Chief Meteorologist Mike Hurd is back with us 3 days in a row. Mike, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I've been talking about this storm over the last 3 days, and it's still on the way.
Yep, so. Absolutely right. Weekend looking nice, but Thursday, Friday, it's coming in, right?
Yeah, another big storm. Yep. And in fact, we've had quite a bit of wet weather in the month of September, and that's one of the reasons we're drought-free. So as you look at the totals on the left column there, that's the month-to-date precipitation, but our departures from normal, we're still running at about 1/4 of an inch to an inch above average for month-to-date precipitation. But we're going to add greatly to those totals Thursday and into Friday. We could easily pick up 1/2 an inch to an inch of rain for the valleys, and there will be some mountain snow with this storm. Snow levels could come down to 6,000 feet.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Now, Bozeman city leaders passed a controversial ordinance last night. The ordinance would require those who are camping on city streets to move every 30 days. Now, you might remember that the original proposal set the minimum to 5 days, but pushback from the homeless community and concern of the strain it would put on city staff led to an increase in days. Dozens of people turned out to the meeting, which lasted about 5 hours. City leaders also lowered the civil penalty from $100 to $25. The vote passed 4-0, and the ordinance is expected to take effect 30 days after the second reading. And tonight, MTN's Edgar Cedillo will have more reaction at 5:30 and 10 o'clock, so be sure to stay with us for that. But over in the mining city, a Butte police officer finds himself on the wrong side of the law. MTN's John Amy has the details.
A Butte police officer is on unpaid leave after being arrested last month in connection with a domestic violence incident. Butte police officer Donald Lewis Jr. was charged in Butte City Court with misdemeanor partner or family member assault. Court documents allege that Lewis was involved in an argument with an adult female and is accused of punching holes in the walls of the residence and turning power off to the residence during the altercation. The sheriff says Lewis was booked and released from jail that day.
Anytime we have an officer or another staff member potentially facing a criminal incident, I contact the Montana Division of Criminal Investigation to conduct those investigations, so there's no appearance of impropriety or any kind of bias.
Butte's county attorney is asking Butte's Council of Commissioners to approve the hiring of a special prosecutor out of the Montana Attorney General's office to prosecute this case. The department is already dealing with a shortage in staffing, so having an additional officer on leave further complicates the issue.
Obviously, that's one less officer on the street, so we'll have to either supplement the crew that he was on with overtime pay or another officer from another division.
Thank you very much, John, for that report. Now in other news, state agencies are advising people not to consume any fish caught on the Yellowstone River in the vicinity of this summer's train derailment. The train derailment and bridge collapse sent cars carrying asphalt material plunging into the Yellowstone and Stillwater County. Tests more than 6 miles upstream and downstream from the derailment site have shown various chemicals high enough to warrant the consumption advisory in all fish, both game and non-game. The area where the advisory is in effect stretches from the Indian Fort Fishing Access Site near Reed Point to the Highway 212 bridge in Laurel. And heartbreak for one Wyoming family after a fatal Beartooth Pass motorcycle accident. On September 2nd, Bree Kumba and her mother Bonnie Laura were riding through the pass when tragedy struck. Bonnie did not survive. Our Kelsey Boggs had the chance to speak with Bree about the accident and how her recovery is going.
Bree was first taken to a hospital in Cody and then was transferred to St. Vincent here in Billings to continue her healing journey. She's now back home in Casper, but her road to recovery is just beginning.
She was my best friend, hands down my best friend.
A strong bond between a mother and her child.
You met her and she didn't make you feel like a stranger. She would embrace pretty much everybody with a warm hug.
Bree Kumba says her mom, Bonnie Laura, loved with her whole heart.
She loved her grandsons, fiercely loved them. And so she would be like, hey, grandma's hot, come cool grandma off, and the kids would just dump water over her, and they thought it was the greatest thing ever.
The two had planned a trip up to Red Lodge from their hometown of Casper, Wyoming, to take a motorcycle ride through the Beartooth Pass. On September 2nd, they left their hotel room in Cody to head towards Red Lodge.
I followed her up originally in my car, and we had parked at the hotel, and I had hopped on her motorcycle with her. We were just riding up through there with some of her friends, and yeah, it just didn't end exactly how we had planned, so.
The day quickly turned into Bree's worst nightmare. After the pair crashed on the pass, Bonnie did not survive the accident. According to the Montana Department of Transportation, motorcycle traffic crashes are up, and motorcycle-related fatalities are most common among the 35 to 64-year-old age group. After the accident, Bree was taken to a Cody hospital, but was then transferred to St. Vincent and Billings.
I had blown out knees, so. Is what we're finding out.
She's now back home in Casper, but is unable to walk due to her injuries.
It's been really, really hard. Painful, really painful. About a year recovery. I can't walk without, I have to have a wheelchair.
A GoFundMe has been set up for the family to assist with the unexpected expenses.
Any type of support we can get is definitely very much appreciated, because I know mentally, physically it's gonna be hard.
While Bree faces her own recovery, a journey that's just beginning, she says her top priority is ensuring her mom's memory is not forgotten.
She touched a lot of lives, just because she had such a big personality. She just loved life, and I just want her to be remembered that way, that she did live life to her fullest and love to her fullest as well.
In Billings, Kelsey Boggs, MTN News.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. Now, switching gears over onto the national scene for this next story. The second Republican presidential primary debate is happening in just under a week, and it'll be without its highest polling candidate again. Former President Donald Trump will be in Detroit delivering a competing address to striking auto workers instead. As for the rest of the field, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, former Vice President Mike Pence, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis are among those who will likely qualify to take the stage. And political reporter Andrew Rafferty, he has the latest for us.
Now, there has not been a whole lot of drama when it comes to who is leading the Republican presidential field. Poll after poll shows former President Trump with a commanding lead. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, the lower polling candidates, there is some big questions, specifically who's going to qualify for the second Republican presidential debate happening next week.
With just over 1 week to go, Republican presidential candidates are scrambling to punch their tickets to the second GOP debate. Among those on the outside looking in, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
It looks like you're right now not in that debate conversation. Do you plan to be on the stage?
Yeah, we plan on being on the stage, but I would just say I think this is one of the things that's wrong with, there's plenty of things wrong with how we elect presidents in this country, but one of the things we're taking the power away from the early states.
Do you plan on being on that stage?
I do plan on it. There's a number of polls that will be coming out. I expect that will help us to make the criteria.
Their biggest hurdle? The Republican National Committee raising the polling thresholds between the first and second debate from 1% to 3% in eligible polls, including at least one national poll where both candidates are near the bottom of the pack.
If there was no national poll requirement and they said you've got to be above a threshold for Iowa and New Hampshire, we'd be on the debate stage and you and I could spend this time actually talking about the economy, energy, and national security. But we end up talking about process because of clubhouse rules.
The Burgum campaign has pointed to surveys that show him beating some of his higher profile rivals in the state of New Hampshire, and voters in the Granite State considering Burgum say he should be part of the conversation.
This guy right here is top-notch. He's taken the company and built it up into the millions, billions of dollars, and he knows what's happening.
I think it's maybe a little too early to pick anybody, but he certainly would be in contention.
So just how important are these presidential debates? Well, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, he had a short-lived presidential run that ended after he failed to meet the criteria to qualify for the first presidential debate. Doug Burgum says either way, he's going to continue through. Whether or not he's on that debate stage, he'll be on the ballot in the Iowa caucuses. And here in New Hampshire, the primary come January of next year. Asa Hutchinson, however, says he'll reevaluate his campaign if he misses the cut. Andrew Rafferty, Scripps News, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Now, before we get into our break, I wanted to share this piece of news with you. 3 Montana schools were recognized as National Blue Ribbon Schools. And the recognition is based on a school's overall academic performance or progress and closing achievement gaps among student subgroups on assessments. Now, the 3 Montana schools were Anderson Elementary here in Bozeman, Amsterdam Elementary School, and the Deer Park School in Columbia Falls. Now, National Blue Ribbon schools serve as models of effective and innovative school practices for state and district educators and other schools throughout the nation. So congratulations to everybody. Now, we're going to take that break, but when we come back, if you have an iPhone, you may be considering a new upgrade as Apple's coming out with yet another new iPhone, but should you?
I'm John Matteries with a new iPhone coming out. How long can you keep an older smartphone before you have to make an upgrade? I'll tell you what the experts say coming up.